everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. Happy Wednesday to you all. I hope that you all are having a fantastic day so far. Just a reminder that the topic this week is stop doing these things, where I want to talk and encourage you to stop engaging in certain hurtful and harmful behaviors and mindsets that some of us struggle with. And today, Wednesday, we're specifically going to be talking about stop putting yourself last. But before we jump into that, again, I want to welcome you and say happy Wednesday. I hope that whether your day is just beginning, in the middle, or towards the end, that it's going really well and in the right direction. I understand that ups and downs and bumps can come throughout the day, and we're going to have to weather those things, but I hope that it is generally going in the right direction, and hopefully you feel less stress than you did the previous 2 days, especially if you live in the US, because I do record these podcasts ahead of time, but hopefully, however things panned out for the election, that you feel just less stress in general. But if you are having a hard day today, Wednesday, or you just want to get through some really tough and frustrating things, I encourage you to do the 5-minute reset, which is to take at least 5 minutes to be by yourself and reset, reboot, restart your day right then and there. It also gives you the opportunity to take a break from any burdens, issues, or problems that you are currently dealing with, and then you can problem solve any problems that you're dealing with and be able to leave with a resolution that will hopefully solve it, and you'll be able to move on from that issue. I also always encourage everyone to come up with a list of at least 4 things that you are grateful for. They can be big things, small things, or medium-sized things. You can literally be grateful that you were able to, take a nap. I feel like that's always one of my examples because I am thoroughly grateful for that. Grateful that you had a little bit extra cash and you're able to indulge in some of the sales that are continually popping up this month. You were grateful that you had some time to take a nice walk outside today. If you work from home, or even if you work in the office, you're able to just get some fresh air and move your body a little bit. Or maybe you're grateful that you were able to turn in early for the night. You can be grateful for literally anything, which makes the list endless. And that means that you shouldn't have any trouble practicing gratitude every single day with being able to be grateful for whatever you want. And then last but not least, make sure that you're feeling at least neutral, if not positive, about the rest of your day, because despite what you're going through, as demonstrated with your gratitude list, you have many blessings and positive things to reflect back on, and that could comfort you and still show you have positive things happening in your life. And I understand that you may be going through some of the hardest times in your life right now, but by focusing in on the positive more often, it'll help you get through those really hard times. But I do hope that you are having a good day this Wednesday. And as I said at the top of the show, this week we are talking about stop doing these things, where I am encouraging you to take a step back and stop engaging in mindsets and behaviors that are not helpful to us at all. And today, specifically Wednesday, we are going to be talking about stop putting yourself last. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Not sure if you expected me to talk about this subject this week, but here it is. I believe that many of us do not put ourselves first often enough. And I know that has to be true of a good chunk of people, especially if you find yourself struggling mentally, because I do feel like people that do struggle with their mental health have taken the time to put other people before them, because they just don't see the need or the necessity or the importance of putting themselves first. Or a lot of times we can feel very shameful of what we're going through, and we want to elevate someone else because that can help you feel better, but also it kind of hides what's going on with you because you're so focused on someone else. But we need to do the switcheroo and make sure that we are focusing more on ourselves, because that is how we become our best selves. That's how we become stronger, and that is how we have the ability to continue to go out there and help people even more, as much as we want, as much as we so desire to. And let's just jump right into all the things that will happen if you do not put yourself first. So you might end up putting the other person first at the expense of your own needs, of course. So like I was saying, if you're struggling with your mental health, maybe you won't even pay attention to it. You won't even realize how anxious and uneasy and sad and how you're struggling with different things. And it's also because you just want to avoid it in general. You don't even want to deal with it. And by taking all your focus and putting it on someone else, it is at the expense of your needs, because you might, even if you don't know what you need, you're still putting someone else before that, because you're not even taking the time to figure out what could help you get through the current struggles that you're dealing with. You'd rather just help someone else because it's a really good distraction. You also can easily absorb someone else's struggles and traumas as your own. This was very interesting. When I did the research for this, it was like a trauma absorption kind of thing, because if you spend a lot of time helping someone else that is struggling with other issues and problems, or has recently gone through a trauma or still working through a trauma, if you continually hear their stories and what they're going through over and over again, a lot of times you can absorb that into yourself and start believing and thinking that you are going through the same thing too. You start struggling with the same thoughts and feelings, and also it can even manifest into your dreams and your night, and turn into nightmares, because you'll wake up and you'll have your own flashbacks because you have absorbed so much of what that other person is going through. And, I don't necessarily think this happens to every single person that helps someone, but if you are spending all your time doing that and you are not taking any breaks and you're not addressing your own things that you're going through, this certainly can happen. And this also certainly can happen if you find someone else to assist and help that has gone through the same things you have gone through, which can also just drudge up your own personal flashbacks and memories and triggers even. So, you can easily absorb someone else's struggles and traumas as your own, which just makes the whole situation much worse, because number one, you're not focusing on yourself and helping yourself get stronger and better, and then two, you're absorbing even more issues and struggles for you to have to deal with in the end. The next one is you can easily, you have trouble saying no in fear of offending others. Of course, I was going to mention, boundaries again, which is what this is. If you have trouble saying no, you have issues with your own personal boundaries. But if you will struggle with saying no if you don't put yourself first, because you don't know how to stand up for yourself, but you also don't have that boundary line of pulling yourself back from being engaged in too many things where you don't have the capacity to do it, you don't have the time, and you don't have the ability. And if you will struggle and always get yourself into things you don't necessarily want to do, and you might think you want to do it, but really deep down you realize that you don't. But this also goes along with fear of offending other people, because you might not want to say no because you're afraid of offending that person, especially if you've said yes for so long. If you all of a sudden start saying no, that fear of offending someone will definitely creep up. And the only thing I can really tell you about that is to realize that, we're going to get into more of what you should do to focus more on yourself. But just right here, if this is something that you are truly struggling with, you have to start slow, and maybe you'll still continue to say yes to some things, but you have to start saying no to other things. And you have to realize that you are just as important as this other person, if not a little bit more, to yourself, because you have to take care of yourself if you are going to continue to help people at all, okay? You have to, because you'll run out of steam at some point. So if your fear is of offending someone else, you have to start slow and realize that yes, they may be offended, but if you just continue to show them that you do care and you want to be there for them, but you have to take a little bit of a step back, they will realize it over time. But if then they do cut you out because you just suddenly have to start saying no, then they weren't truly there for you. Really, they were just there for the service that you were willing to provide them. Does that make sense? And that's selfish, and you don't need that kind of relationship in your life. And then the last one is you can become depressed. Obviously, you can become depressed if you don't put yourself first, because you're not putting any time or effort into taking care of yourself, checking in with yourself, making sure that things are going well, that you're on the current right path that you want to set yourself on. You are not working towards becoming your best yourself, as we all need to be doing. And you can become depressed because if you are also putting everyone first and you're not acknowledging your own feelings and things that are going on in your own mind and your own body, then that all gets suppressed, and then you just feel so sad and alone, and then suddenly you just withdraw from everyone, and that's not a situation that any of us want to be in, right? So those are the things that would happen if you do not put yourself first. Obviously, again, and as always, it's not an exhaustive list, but it is a list of the important parts that I thought were important that I wanted to share with you. I also wanted to share with you a couple thoughts that go through people's heads when they think putting themselves last is the better thing to do, because there are definitely people out there that believe that by putting yourself first, it's not the right way to go, it's not appropriate, it's not the best course of action if you truly want to have like a giver's heart, which I do not agree with. And here are some thoughts that people have. So they confuse caring with rescuing. I have been I have engaged in this because I will think that I am going out of my way to care for someone, to love them, to be there for them, help them every single step of the way. But really, if you get too deep in that, you are trying to rescue them. You are trying to hold their hand through every little thing. You are trying to prevent them from getting into any more trouble or going through any more mistakes by literally just like sprinkling rose petals in front of them as they go on their course, by being there to clean up every single mess that they are engaged in. And honestly, that person is not going to learn how to function on their own if you don't take the time and the breathing room to work on yourself and give them a break so they can learn how to function by themselves at least a little bit, so that they can learn how to be more autonomous, how to be able to grow and become stronger by themselves, which is super important. I don't care how caring and loving the people are in your life. If you can't manage your own life while you're alone at some point, then you are going to fail. And so you're really just coddling them. You are not actually helping that person by trying to rescue them from every little thing that's going on in their lives. That is not what you want to do, and that is not the definition of a giver's heart and a reason for you to not put yourself first. Another thought is they think self-care is selfish. This is obviously a common one. A lot of people believe that self-care is selfish because you are putting yourself first, and I honestly think that this mindset stems back to some sort of situation that you may have had where someone else, inputted that information into you or called you selfish when you did engage in some sort of self-care or decided to do something for you first before helping someone else. And honestly, I think that person's reaction is because of the same thing. We were like given a slap on the wrist and told that we were so selfish because we put ourselves first, when in reality, I feel like that's just a lot of pain and anger built up because either they got in trouble for that same thing, or they just can't find the strength in themselves to do that because they are, again, afraid of rejection. They're afraid of someone being offended, and they have their own struggles to deal with. So I am here to encourage you and tell you for a fact that self-care is not selfish, because as I keep saying, you cannot help someone else if you don't help yourself first, because you will not have the capacity to do so. You cannot pour from an empty cup, right? That famous quote, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you don't fill yourself up first, how are you going to have anything to give to anyone else? And then let's say that you just continue to pour from that empty cup, and then all of a sudden it's just so empty that it's burnt out. Then how is that going to help that person, right? How are you going to continue to be able to help that person if you literally just can't anymore? It's not smart. It's just not reasonable. It's not reality. So just consider that. Realize it. You can't pour from an empty cup. The next thought is that we expect others to do the same. This is a dangerous thought, and it's a dangerous game that I have played before for so long. And it's a problem because you are giving all of you and you are trying to be there for that person all the time, because you are trying to model exactly what you want back. But generally what happens with that is you will be returned with a lot of bitterness, because you're thrusting out your own expectations onto other people and wanting that back, but the only reason that you're giving them that much is because that's what you want back, when honestly, if you are actually truly giving your time and energy and care to someone, it should be out of the goodness and greatness of your own heart, not just because you're trying to model exactly what you want back. Now that is selfish. So you should consider, if that's the reason you're doing it, if you are just, doing all these wonderful things because you want that person to do it back to you, then you're already doing it for the wrong reasons. So you need to reconsider that. But also you're probably going to be disappointed, because that's not generally how things work. Sometimes, someone will mirror back what you want. You'll get the reflection that you want, but a lot of times they won't, because they'll think that you are just being so loving and kind, and they'll get all wrapped up into it being about them and not realize that that's what you want too. And then the last thought that I want to mention is we don't realize our own worth. The reason why people put everyone else above them, put them first, is because they think that they are not at the same worthiness as those people. They think it's more important to boost them up, to make them more important, to take care of them, because we do not feel like we are worthy of any of that attention or care. But that is not true at all. We all have the same amount of worth, I believe. And I don't care what season of life you're in, how much money you have, what your job is, what opportunities you've had. We all have the same amount of worth. It's just a matter of whether we are able to tap into that and understand and believe it, and then live our life with that belief, and live our life through that, essentially. So you have to realize that you are worthy of the same care and love that someone else is giving, that you are giving to someone else. Don't expect it. Don't just do it because you want it back, but know that you are worthy of that, and you should get that too, and that you shouldn't elevate anyone else above you, because you also may not really truly know what's going on with them, and you're just making assumptions, which is also a dangerous game to play. So those are some thoughts that people have when they think that they shouldn't put themselves first. And finally, let me give you 5 steps to putting yourself first more often, and how you can do that. This might be the whole reason why you're here, but I had to go through those things. I always go through all the explanations and the reasons why before I give you the steps on how. So, and like always, again, not a conclusive list, just the ones I thought would be really important to highlight for you. Step number 1 is to set boundaries. Obviously, I'm on a roll, right? I think I'm going to end up saying this for every single episode this week. That's just par for the course here. But set boundaries. You have to set those personal boundaries so that you are able to say no when you don't have the capacity, when you don't have the time, when you don't have the ability to say yes. You have to make sure that you keep some things private that need to be private, and that you are open to some things and share some things when you feel like it's appropriate to do so. And you have to make sure that you are taking the time that you need to rest, and not letting someone else interrupt that, and not letting someone else take advantage of the situation by trying to manipulate you into thinking that you're a terrible person because you did yours first before helping someone else. You have to set those boundaries. You have to be firm about it, and know that those are going to keep you in the good relationships and keep you out of the bad ones, right? And to help you turn away the things that you really don't need to be engaged in. It's a gut thing, and you got to tap into it. And the more that you do, the stronger that they'll be. Step number 2 is to create a priority list. Create goals, actually organize things that are really important to you and that you need to do. And once you do that, then if you still want to help someone, you can work those things in around that schedule. So if you decide for one of your downtime or self-care things to do, you want to take a bath, and let's say you schedule to do that after dinner, so maybe it's 7 or 8 o'clock or whatever, but then something comes up and someone calls you and they're like, oh my gosh, I want you to come over and help me like organize my closet. And you're like, okay, but I'm already planning on taking a bath. And they're like, oh, you can do that anytime. But don't let people talk you out of the things that are important to you. If taking a bath is really important to you, because it's the time that you allow yourself to maybe like watch a show or watch YouTube or read a book or just zone out and listen to music, and that's really going to calm you and help you get through the rest of the week, then you need to do you, and you need to reschedule that or tell them that you can come afterwards if that's what you want to do. But you have to create your own priority list. You have to find what's important to you, schedule that out, and then add in the other things on top of that. Because I assure you, that's how a lot of other people are running their lives. They are not putting everyone else at the top of the list and then adding themselves in. No, they are scheduling everything out that it's important that they need to do, and then they're adding the other things in around it. Because yes, it's great to help. It's an amazing opportunity. It can really help us get through the struggles that we're going through, but we are never going to truly become our strongest selves if we don't put ourselves first and schedule our own important things in. Also, we don't want to find ourselves getting behind on our own work, our own chores, our own things that have to get done just because we are trying to be so selfless and help other people, because that's just really hurting ourselves in the end, and that is not the intention that you should have, despite how much you want to help someone. Step number 3 is to ask for help when you need it. There is nothing wrong. There's nothing shameful. There is nothing you should be embarrassed about by asking for help. You should ask for help. And this is a way for you to put yourself first, because instead of always being at the beck and call of someone else, you are calling out to someone and being like, hey, I could really use your assistance in dealing with this. I'd really like your help with this. I really need to talk to someone about this. So if you need help, you need to reach out and ask for it. Just because you're always the one giving help doesn't mean that you don't need help. That is not what that means. And if you can't find anyone in your circle that you are engaged with, that you are giving help to, and you're asking them for help, then you might need to question the people that you are surrounding yourself with, because if they are willing to, and they are so easy to ask you for help, but then you ask for help and no one wants to help, that is a red flag, my friend, and you need to reconsider what's going on there, and that they might just be using you for your kind heart and your willingness to be there for other people. Step number 4 is to start engaging in self-care. This is obviously a no-brainer one, but I had to throw it in there because it's super important. You need to schedule in your self-care. So when you're scheduling in your priorities, like you need to get these certain things done for a deadline for work, and that you need to, meal prep here, and you want to exercise there. Like I said with the example with the bath, you need to schedule in your self-care activities. So, taking a bath, reading a book, going for a walk, maybe it's baking cookies, I don't know, whatever it is that's your self-care, watching a TV show, right? Or watching football if you're into that. I'm super into football. So that was kind of like my self-care this past weekend, was sitting on the couch all Sunday morning watching football. And so you need to start engaging in your own self-care, and by engaging in it, it's helpful to plan it in to your schedule, because then you make sure that it actually happens. It's like a check mark on your to-do list, so you make sure that you're able to tick it off with everything else that needs to get done. If you don't start engaging in the self-care, you will have no way to give yourself some downtime and to refresh yourself and make yourself more able to help other people. And step number 5, which is the final step, is to choose your friends wisely. I've already mentioned this a couple times, but if you are willing to help people so much and they are taking your help and asking for your help and always having you involved, but then the moment that you turn and ask them for help and ask them to be involved, and they are no longer, they are like, no, I'm sorry, I can't, and they're always saying no. I understand that sometimes people just say no because they don't have the time or the capacity, right? They are engaging in their own personal boundaries. But if that is continuously happening with everyone in your life, then that is a red flag that you need to find yourself a new circle of friends, because they're obviously just using you because you're so kind and generous and helpful, and you need to find other people that are like-minded like you, that are willing to give and take. Okay? So please consider that. And I understand it can be really hard that if you already have friends established, it can be really easy just to keep on bad company because it's company as opposed to no company. But it's important for you to realize that you deserve and you are worthy of good company, of good people in your life, and strong friendships. And you need to believe that, and then you need to go and seek out those things, because keeping these bad people around are not only going to make you feel worse about yourself, but they're also going to abuse you and use you and manipulate you, and that is not fair to you at all whatsoever. Well, you guys, that's it. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, my name is Sabrina. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I encourage you to share it with someone else. But thank you so much for coming, listening, downloading, loving the show, sharing the show. I hope you come back for the rest of the episodes of this week. Just so you know, a sneak peek for tomorrow. Thursday is Stop Letting Fear Be in Charge. That is what I will be talking about. Check the description box for notes for the show, where to find me on Instagram, or my email address for any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just to say hey, hi, hello to me. But again, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.